Works meeting on Tuesday, June the 14th. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to do a roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Badaway.
Present.
Councillor Bateman.
Present, thank you.
Perfect. Councillor Kiokio. Councillor Easton. Councillor Foster.
Present.
Councillor Grant.
Present.
Acting Regional Chair Height.
Present.
Councillor Encina.
Present.
Councillor Junkin.
Here.
Councillor Morocco.
Present.
Councillor Olson.
Present.
Councillor Rigby.
Present.
Councillor Seaborn.
Present.
Councillor Steele. Councillor Ugolini.
Present.
Councillor Villela. Councillor Zalepa.
I'm here, thank you.
And we have regrets today from Councillors Diodati, Cisco, and Sorrento, and are joined by Councillor Ganan, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I'd like to again read the land acknowledgement. Niagara region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credits First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting these wide stewardship of the lands on which we live. So are there any disclosure or pecuniary interests from any committee members this morning? None noted. So we'll move on to item 4, which is items for consideration. It's PW 18-2026, gross budget adjustment for 7th Street Bridge and Regional Road 34, 7th Street Louth in the city of St. Catharines. There's our mover for this. Acting Chair Height and second by Councillor Rigby. Is there any discussion on this? We have Councillor Olson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And through you, we've increased the budget for this project by approximately $800,000. And I was wondering what the nature of the flagging is for the CN, and that's the primary cause of our budget going up like this.
Okay, Director Tassoni, could you answer that?
Yeah, through the chair, the structure runs over the CN tracks on 7th Street in St. Catharines. And every time that we work over top of the tracks, CN has to have their flaggers there to ensure that there's no interruptions or any type of debris falling on the track. Throughout the life of this project, we learned that they had changed their regulations to require full-time flagging rather than part-time flagging, which was their previous process. And so there was an additional cost to having that full-time flagging.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering what the change was, and thank you for that explanation. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other speakers, please vote electronically. Okay. It's all clear. Thank you for your patience. There we go. Motion is carried. Thank you. So moving on to item 4.2, PW 20-2026, the Quarry Road Landfill Leachate Management Systems Upgrade. Is there a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Foster, Councillor Seaborn. Any discussion on that item? Here we go. It's in front of us. Call the question again. Okay. Then please vote electronically. Thank you. Motion is carried. So moving on to item 4.3, which is PW 22-2026, initiation of funds and direct award, excuse me, for the archaeological assessment services for the South Niagara wastewater treatment plant solutions project. So is there a mover for that? How about Councillor Olson, and how about Councillor Ugolini? So there, get in front of us. So Councillor Encina, you're first.
Thank you, excuse me, thank you, Chair. The only reason I'm asking with regards to this is that what we've encountered for the last couple of years with regards to archaeological, is that enough funds, or are we gonna have to come back to the well again?
Director Lambert?
Through the chair, we've been able to review the scope of work, and we feel like this is sufficient for the scope that's in front of us that we're aware of at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Olson, you're next.
Yes, thank you, Chair, to Director Lambert. We have a arrangement with the three Indigenous groups that do this type of thing. Is this in addition to their work? And I think we have a retainer with them. Is that correct?
Director Lambert?
So through the chair, we do have agreements with each of the three nations in order to, varying degrees of agreements, separate agreements, with each of the three nations, the Six Nations of the Grand River, Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Haudenosaunee Development Institute, which represents HCCC, the Confederacy, Haudenosaunee Confederacy. So their work as archaeological monitors is included in the total. So it includes our consultants' work that'll be doing the actual archaeological assessment as well as the work of the First Nations.
Through your chair, so this is part of the money for Stantec, is that correct? Is that how that works?
Through the chair, there's the portion identified in the report of the approximately 5.5 million is for Stantec's work. The remainder of the budget, up to 6 million, I believe that's identified for the Indigenous groups to complete their work as well.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Foster, you're next.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This isn't the only situation that we've required archaeological work with the communities, and I can say with my work that I do with the SWIFT program, the fiber technology, this has become a pretty big to-do, particularly along the Niagara Parkway. I'm going to sort of ask something similar to what Councillor Olson did, but there seems to be a lot of projects that are requiring this at this point, and it's requiring significant funds to go and do this. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be advisable for us as the region with the Niagara Parks, possibly the city of Niagara Falls, possibly this, it's not a city, right, Tom? It's a town of Fort Erie. Like talk to all of the groups and take a good look at these projects that are coming up, because we're getting hung up on various pieces at this time. I can tell you the SWIFT program, as a for instance, had to cancel completely the funding to go and put fiber in along the Niagara Parkway. So anyway, I'm just curious, has there been any thought to doing anything like that, possibly through to Michelle?
Michelle?
Through the chair, great question. Niagara region has a long history with First Nations. And so when we do our requirements associated with duty to consult, particularly with respect to archaeology, we do tend to find resources which can take more time and more funds associated with archaeology. And we do know that Fort Erie in particular, really anything, we have a lot of waterfront, so anything along the waterfront, is an area of archaeological potential where we do tend to find significant resources. So that's just a product of where we lie from a geographic perspective. That being said, we have had some pretty positive conversations, both with the First Nations as well as the Niagara Parks Commission and Fort Erie, as well as Wainfleet, in order to try to come up with a strategy to sort of address this going forward. I mean, our obligations under the duty to consult will remain there no matter what. And we do want to fulfill those obligations, but I do think that there may be some tools or some other things that might be more particularly at the local area municipal disposal under the Ontario Heritage Act that might be helpful in these types of situations. So I appreciate the comment, and I think maybe we should be looking to expand it to some of the other municipalities as well in order to have that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we've got Wainfleet on board, it's going to be great. So anyway, yes, I think this is a positive area for us to be looking at. So thank you.
CEO Tripp would like to add some comments.
Thank you, through you, Chair. And just as recent as this past Friday, there was an area CAO group, the 13 of us, and this was a topic of discussion. We already are targeting AMO for delegations that are specifically around Fort Erie's challenges and the strategy there, but a desire to work collaboratively across all 13, because we're all having varying degrees of challenges in terms of certainty and predictability and consistency moving forward. So just letting council know that was just talked about on Friday.
Thank you for that. And Councillor Encina?
Thank you, Chair. Just through you, one question to staff. When we talk about duty to consult, that is something I have been hung up on for a while. What is, or can we define, I'm not asking for it now, can we send something out? What is the actual duty to consult? Is it talking to them and saying this is what we're doing, or do we actually have to go further? I'm just throwing that out to staff if we could get something, please.
Through the chair, maybe I can start. We do have Brian in the room with us as well. He may want to fill in. What I would recommend is that we actually prepare something and either send it out on Friday correspondence or something to that nature to help set the record straight, because we do have an obligation on really anything related to land use, which I know we're not in planning, but sometimes we impact land use. But in particular, it's related to infrastructure projects. And so I think it would be best if we come back and do more of an information piece through what I would recommend the weekly correspondence.
That would be perfect. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, noting no other speakers and no other comments, I'm going to call the question. Oh, yeah, Councillor Olson.
Through you, I think the obligation to consult is very well defined in legal terms as well. So if the report could contain that, because I think and it's not just our obligation to consult, but it's the individuals, Indigenous folks. They have collective ownership over these things, and I think that's something that should be defined for everybody before we make decisions as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, and then we'll please call, I'm going to call the question. Please vote electronically. Motion is carried. Thank you. So moving on to consent items here, 5.1. So this morning we have CAO 1226, regional participation in the local exploration of municipal service corporation. So welcome, Ron, and I look forward to your presentation.
So thank you, Chair. Appreciate this. I'm here to provide a bit of context with respect to CAO 1226. I'll start with an apology. You just received this. This was published yesterday, and there's reasons for that. We definitely saw an urgency to get it before committee and council for awareness. It's also responsive to correspondence from the Mayor of Port Colborne, so it definitely was timely. Over the past number of months, we've been corresponding with the City of Port Colborne as they explore a new governance model, specifically for water wastewater services in their community. The last several weeks have seen some developments, and I thought now would be an appropriate time to give committee and council a transparent and timely update around the focus and the progress of those discussions. Appreciate that this was last minute to the agenda, and like to highlight a few items I figured going through this presentation would be helpful. Oops. Just in terms of what we're going to go through, a brief overview of the region's water wastewater system and the local context around municipal service corporations, a summary of the correspondence and actions we've taken with Port Colborne to date, updates on current points of regional focus, and our next steps. And it's all of which is in the report as well. Sorry, I jumped ahead on me there. Council's well aware of the region's water wastewater infrastructure system works, but for the folks at home, folks watching, just wanted to give some context to the size and scale of the regional system. Appendix 5, I believe, of the report gives some more detail of our system, the history of why the system is set up the way it is, as well as a snapshot of the assets that we have specifically in Port Colborne. You see some impressive numbers on the screen here, but the point really is that the system has been planned, financed, constructed, and expanded to provide safe, reliable, and sustainable water and wastewater services to communities across all of Niagara. This is an example of what regional governments were originally established to do. Modern water wastewater utilities rely upon a range of specialized technical and corporate functions that support the system as a whole. These services are delivered across the region's water wastewater services rather than being duplicated within each municipality, resulting in greater operational resilience, economies of scale, resulting in lower overall costs. This is important context when we consider alternate governance models, either at the municipal or the regional level. What Port Colborne has been exploring is a new model in which they would establish what is called a municipal service corporation for their local water and wastewater infrastructure. I want to be clear at this point, they say they are only looking at their local system, their infrastructure. But they have said they could look at models that incorporate the region's infrastructure in the future, which is why our staff have been engaged. As detailed in the report, it is important to recognize there are several models out there. One is an MSC, a Municipal Service Corp. Another is the Water and Wastewater Public Corporation model, and that is currently what is moving forward in the region of Peel through specific legislation. While both relate to municipal service delivery, it's important to distinguish these two concepts. An MSC is a broad governance vehicle through which municipalities may choose to deliver a variety of municipal services, not just water, wastewater. By contrast, the Water and Wastewater Public Corporations Act of 2025 establishes a distinct statutory framework for the creation of provincially designated water and wastewater public corporations to own and operate water and wastewater systems. WWPCs are subject to specific legislative requirements respecting ownership, governance, and political oversight, and should not be viewed as synonymous with or simply another form of municipal service corporation. The policy objectives underlying this legislation are consistent with preserving public ownership while giving municipalities greater flexibility around governance, financing, and utility management. They are not indicative of a provincial policy preference favoring the fragmentation of integrated regional systems into municipally specific utilities. Rather, the framework contemplates corporations providing services on behalf of multiple municipalities, reflecting the province's recognition that integrated utility systems often provide operational, financial, and regulatory advantages. So just to recap and clarify, what Port Colborne is investigating is a municipal service corporation, not a water, wastewater public corporation through the provincial's legislation. So in terms of what's taken place to date between the region and the city of Port Colborne, I guess meaningfully started in the August of 2025, looking to help as the city of Port Colborne was looking for options, alternatives to explore financing infrastructure to serve the east side employment lands. It's broader than that, but it originally began with strategies around financing those service requirements. Requests expanded to detailed information related to regional water and wastewater facilities. And we have been collaborative as we can be. We've provided facility drawings, plant process overviews, GIS data and asset values, capital forecasts, total utility costs for 24 and 25, capital investment in regional infrastructure serving Port Colborne. And even further yet, on April 28th of 2026, regional staff hosted city staff and their consultants at both the Seaway Wastewater Treatment Plant and the Port Colborne Water Treatment Plant for a fulsome technical tour. Some data requested could not be provided, as many functions are managed on a region-wide basis and are not collected or reported in a municipally specific way. However, at this point, Port Colborne should have the information they need to complete the review, and you're welcome to probe further on that with our Commissioner of Public Works, who in previous experiences did this very same work. There should be more than sufficient information required for any business case that they want to consider. City staff and the mayor's office have continued to request regional information and involvement as per the letter appendix 1 of this report. And while the mayor's letters I'd characterize as insistent, I'd say the correspondence with the staff has been more in a demanding nature. Once again, if Port Colborne wishes to explore an MSC for their own municipality, this is their prerogative. It's their jurisdiction, their responsibility. But as it intersects or includes regional infrastructure and services, it becomes a very different discussion. So just a reminder, the council, we have several ongoing reviews that could factor heavily into this discussion and constitute our focus right now. The CAO Governance Group, which met most recently this Friday, has identified, among other priorities, and I'm going to have an update for council this Friday in terms of that work plan, but among other priorities, a system-wide review of the water wastewater system is one of those priorities with the regional CAO group. Both these reviews and court service review, which was an update was given at the last regional council meeting, will also give us valuable insight into what services we as a region should be providing and how we can provide them more efficiently. Data collected by our consultant is underway right now. Both of these reviews are critical steps in examining any governance changes for model for water and wastewater across Niagara. We need to do the background work first. Also, like to remind council that council has directed me as CAO to undertake and participate in these two specific initiatives. So the report notes that the region will no longer be providing information, specifically regional information, to Port Colborne in their exploration of MSC. We've simply given it all we have to give. No direction from council to participate in that review. If council wishes, they can direct staff to do that. At current time, I would not recommend doing so. In terms of sequencing, we need to wait, or we ought to be waiting for the CAO governance review and the core service review work to be at least well underway, if not completed. A region-wide system can only be assessed as a regional-wide system. Region-wide system can only be assessed as a regional-wide system, not area municipality by area municipality. And this is basically pulling strategic and operational resources away from other work that priorities that need to be done, including council's priorities and operational priorities. So with that, happy to take any questions of committee, and I appreciate your indulgence in terms of the last minute of this report.
Okay, thank you, CAO Tripp, for this presentation. So we'll look to the speakers list to start. Looks like we have Mayor Steele to start conversation. Mayor Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my disappointment in the CAO is quite frankly boiling my blood. You know, I thought Councillor Badaway and I would have at least been given an opportunity to sit down with the CAO before this report goes out, because it's directly right at our municipality. Councillor Badaway and I have obligation to make sure that we're looking out for our taxpayer and our ratepayers here in Port Colborne. The one thing about Port Colborne, exactly like Fort Erie, is that we're self-contained. Our sewer and water plants serve no one but the city of Port Colborne. This is a journey down the new governance model the province has put in place. Changes are going to happen this fall. A new council is going to come in with the 12 mayors, with a new chair. We're just setting the table. You know, quite frankly, the city of Port Colborne has the highest water rates in Niagara and one of the highest in Ontario. And we look at our water rates and we look at what we're paying the region, and we're trying to find out why. And it is a combination of decades of negligence in the water wastewater system in Port Colborne. And we've poured millions of dollars into our system. I just in our sewer system has reduced by about 40% over the last year and a half. But Mr. Chair, this is just very disappointing. Like, we're trying to work here. We're working forward. We've got a CAOs group working. The mayors meet continually about governance. And this whole thing to go into the new governance system is to set the table. I mean, and for accusations by saying we're wasting staff's time, I mean, all due respect to CAO, give me a break. This is absolutely ridiculous. We're trying to get information. It should be information that's readily available.
Point of order. Point of order, Mr.
To
Chair.
this.
It's really good that the mayor is bringing his view forward, but I think editorializing and commenting about staff is completely inappropriate.
Well, you can say that all you want, Counselor, but I mean, you know, this should have been given an opportunity for Counselor Badaway and I to actually sit down and just go through this. And as the CAO said, to have this at last minute. Yeah, anyways, I'll leave it at that then, Counselor Foster, that's fine.
Is there a question?
But I'm very disappointed.
Okay.
No, that's fine. I'll wait. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Olson.
Chair, I see Councillor Badaway is next to me. If he would like to take the time, my spot, I'd be happy to reverse that if you like.
Okay, Councillor Badaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, are you just taking questions right now, or are you taking questions and statements?
I'm sorry, this is questions to the CAO on his presentation. So we like to minimize the commentary and just have discussion this morning.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll wait till the actual report comes up, and I'll have some comments to the report.
Back to Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of questions, and this goes to the evaluation of assets. And I guess that's something that can be concrete. What can't be concrete at this time is the structure of the debt in our regional debt capacity and the capacity of Port Colborne to carry debt. And I'm imagining a very large capital expenditure here on the part of somebody. And the debt is going to be probably unsustainable without some kind of guarantees. Is there a study of that type of thing gone on as well, or is that something that's left to be contemplated? Because I spend a lot of time on thinking about debt and the structure of debt and guarantees and backstops, because that's the long-term, that's the real long-term effect of something like this. I know that from people who have talked to me and sent me emails about the cost of water and wastewater in Port Colborne, and that too is unsustainable, and I appreciate the fact that we have provided data and so on along the way. But at some point you have to get to the decision point, and you have to get to the discussion about debt and the long-term future of things. Has that been addressed?
Through you, Chair. So there's a couple of angles on that, Councillor. I appreciate the question. That's being looked at very specifically at the local level, and I won't make any comment on that work being done, because in fact, this direction of MSC is premised on dealing with financial funding and debt management. At a regional level, Specific to Port Colborne, no, and that's exactly the challenge I referenced in the presentation and the report. There's enterprise systems that support the wastewater system, one of which is financial and debt management and capital management, that you can't just look at one area in isolation. It's as a system. And has that been dissected? No. And I suggest we ought not to be going down that road. The work of the CAOs is going to look at the system and look at those very things.
So through you, Chair, so that would mean that, that the things that are now up to speculation and estimation, where like, we have a value on our assets. We also have an ownership interest across the region. Even if we don't have the assets there, we have an ownership interest. We've invested our capital in this in the past, and there's presumably an uptick in the value of these things. How do we get our valuation out of that? I guess that's estimation or speculation, or what is that?
Well, through you, Chair, at the moment, it's speculation.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of directions it could go. And I'll reference, I guess, transit is the most recent example. These are all considerations that take quite a bit of analysis, and then ultimately landing agreement through a triple majority process of how things shift either up or down. A lot of work needs to go into that to answer your question. There was a comment earlier about this is the path that the government is on. What's happening in Peel is quite different, and your question has an entirely different answer for a corporation as opposed to an MSC.
Yeah.
So I'm not avoiding the question, just simply it's speculative at the moment.
No, thank you. Through you, Chair, I can appreciate that, because at some certain point, you get to the point where estimation and speculation takes over, and, and optimization of alternatives takes over, and I expect that we might be at that point. I don't know from what I've heard, but I know I want to make sure that that the complications that arise from debt and the complication that arise from backstopping debt and guaranteeing debt, which will inevitably fall on somebody, they have to be part of the speculation and the estimation. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, so moving on to Councillor Foster.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a couple of questions to the CAO. So can you sort of remind us how old the facilities are in Port Colborne? Are they like what we're seeing like with some of the rest of ours? Are they ancient, or are they more modern?
Through you, Chair, I think I could sort of broadly characterize Port Colborne's regional infrastructure is similar to most across Niagara. They're not antiques like some, like the Q water plant, which is more than a century old. Substantially built in and around between the 50s to the 70s, and then upgraded or state of good repair along the way. But original vintage in that area, I couldn't tell you dates. And so similar to what's in St. Catharines, similar to what's in Niagara Falls. Hopefully that's the characterization you're looking for.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And the other thing is, can you just remind us again on the way the region treats various municipalities when it comes to water and wastewater? I believe there's an across-the-board rate that comes into play, but can you just remind us of that one as well, please?
Yes, thank you, through Chair. And Council likely is aware also that there was a recent memo about looking at the rate methodology. I've been a part of pretty much every review since the early 2000s the region and the locals have done, and part of the mayor's reference was to exactly that. So while that methodology has implications for a system that is deficient, both the sewer and the water, I think the answer to the question is it's a blended rate across everybody, all 11 local municipalities pay the same unit rate, so it's blended, which basically indicates that the economy of scale is the benefit to all.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Encina.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the CAO. I'm really trying to wrap my head around why the urgency to do this now. Is there something that we're missing? From your perspective, you know, why are we dealing with this now at the end of this term? Is there an urgency for this?
Through you, Chair, as a standalone in Port Colborne, absolutely not. In fact, it's not a strategy I would ever recommend to council. Again, not speaking for the city, there is an urgency to deal with MSC locally in terms of a funding strategy. There's no urgency to bring the regional infrastructure into that dialogue, and that's why I'm recommending we've done all we can do on I guess sanctioned, directed to work with the other CAOs to look at the system.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So, thank you, CAO Tripp, for, Councillor Morocco, slipping in there.
Thank you, Chair. The Chair to Ron Tripp. So I just want to make this clear. So we're looking right now at having one of the municipalities pull out of the water and wastewater and go independently. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, I guess to fairly characterize, they are trying to model what it would look like. In the words pulling out or any sort of separation, upward or downward movement of regional infrastructure or local infrastructure implicates or brings in the triple majority process. But what Port Colborne is currently trying to do is model what that could look like.
So right now, our debt in water and wastewater, just correct me if I'm wrong, is it $2.7 billion?
I believe that's the correct number in terms of what we've identified as the gap, correct?
So if the scenario works out, then how does that then get divided up if municipalities start separating? Because that debt's still there. Everybody's been a part of that debt. And obviously, at the end of the day, someone's going to have to pick up the cost. So I'm just curious, how does that get split?
Through you, Chair, and this goes
Through the
back
chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, to Chair, back to Councillor Olson's question. The answer to that question is quite complex and yet to be determined. So quite considerable analysis and policy decision making needs to go into the answer of that question.
So one more question through the chair. So then if municipalities were to start going on their own and then all of a sudden down the road, say 8 years, decide like, we just can't manage this. We need to come back in under the umbrella of the regional system. What would that scenario look like through the chair to Ron?
Through Chair, I really can't speculate, but that certainly is something to turn your mind to of what could happen.
That's all I have to say. Thank you so much, Chair.
Okay. No other speakers. I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder for the report. We'd like to Acting Chair Height and Councillor Olson as seconder. So now we will have the opportunity to have discussion on this report. So it's in front of us. And now Councillor Badaway, this is your opportunity. So you're first, so you can start.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a few comments. Expanding from where Councillor Mayor Steele left off, a little disappointed, not so much on what was presented today, but more so the contents on the how. And as members of council recognize, my agenda since coming on board a year ago was to simply have a fully participant, I guess I can call it, with all 12 municipalities in the region, service review. And Mr. Chair, although we support Niagara's commitment, I say Niagara, and I say Niagara as a whole with all 12 municipalities, not just the region. So we support Niagara as a whole. their commitment to a collaborative Niagara-wide review of municipal services. And I'm sure it's not just the region that's embarking on that. Cities like Port Colborne and others, I'm sure, will be embarking on or already started embarking on that as well. And when I say Niagara, as I said, it's being all 12 municipalities, as well as the region, to embark on that process. The purpose of this process should be to objectively evaluate where services are best delivered across the region and all options, and I say all options taken into consideration, based on efficiency, effectiveness, and of course, value for taxpayers and long-term sustainability. Not to predetermine outcomes, such as downloading responsibilities. I know there was some comments made in the media recently about this is a predetermination, that this is a downloading to local municipalities. Well, that predetermination can't be recognized yet. What has to happen from one level of government to another is the process. And this is my point. The process, if a whole of Niagara process is completed, will then determine where those services are best delivered. It can be at the regional level, it can be at the municipal level. So this is not, and I want to repeat, this is not a downloading exercise. This is an exercise that simply determines where best the services can be delivered. It can continue to be delivered at the region. It can be brought down to the municipalities. But we have to go through that exercise. And I think most of the questions that are being asked on this report today prove that, because a lot of the questions can't be answered yet. And the only way they can be answered is if everyone takes part in this exercise. And by working together, regional and local municipalities can ensure that any recommendations are evidence-based and in the best interests of all Niagara residents. This report is clearly framed to justify limiting Niagara Region's involvement in Port Colborne's Municipal Services Corporation review. It's not predetermined in Port Colborne. It's a review, which is exactly what the region is attempting to do. And this review, until the region completes its own Niagara-wide governance reviews, cannot be determined. The central argument is that any consideration of governance, the changes of same, involving regional water and wastewater assets must occur from a region-wide perspective rather than through a municipally specific process, whether it be one of the 12 or whether it be all the 12 or whether it be the region. It has to be done together. If our goal is to respond by emphasizing, or your goal is to respond by emphasizing the region's own stated commitment to a whole of Niagara review, there are several points where the report itself can be used to support this position. Key points. Within this report, it repeatedly states that the water and wastewater system is an integrated regional utility. Governance decisions should be evaluated for all 12 local municipalities, not one municipality in isolation. The CAO's governance and service delivery review has already identified a region-wide water and wastewater service system delivery model. Review is in fact a priority. The Ernst & Young Core Services Review will also examine water and wastewater services, and duplicating that work through a municipally specific review is an inefficient use of regional resources. Period. Those statements create an expectation that the region will undertake a complete, objective review of all governance options, not simply reaffirm the existing regional model. The report appropriately emphasizes that any consideration of changes to Niagara's water and wastewater system must occur from a Niagara-wide perspective. If that principle is to be upheld, then the forthcoming governance and service delivery review and core services review should evaluate all viable governance and service delivery models on an objective basis for the benefit of the entire region of Niagara. The report itself notes that the province has created the Water and Wastewater Public Corporations Act 2025. This as a new governance framework, and recognizes that integrated utilities can continue under alternative governance structures. If so, through efficiencies and effectiveness and value for taxpayers. It further acknowledges that the legislation represents a new potential governance tool whose applicability to Niagara should be evaluated. Accordingly, the region's commitment to a Niagara-wide review should include evaluation of the current regional delivery model alongside alternative governance models, assessment of the financial, operational, regulatory, and customer impacts of each option, consideration of emerging provincial legislation and governance reforms, engagement with all 12 municipalities through a transparent process and recommendations based on evidence rather than any predetermined outcomes. A comprehensive Niagara-wide review should neither prejudge nor exclude any governance model. Rather, it should fulfill Council's direction by providing an objective assessment of the full range of available options for delivery and delivering of safe, reliable, and financially sustainable water and wastewater services across Niagara. One noteworthy aspect of this report is that it says the region is not opposed to exploring alternative models. But simultaneously, and it was mentioned the chair mentioned it, he went to both sides. Report, yes, then no. Simultaneously, recommends not participating in Port Colborne's review because a Niagara-wide review is forthcoming. Is it? That creates an implicit commitment. The region's own review should now be expected to meaningfully examine those alternative governance models, including the new provincial framework, rather than simply validating the status quo. If it does not, it would be difficult to reconcile that outcome with the rationale presented in this report. A lot of us aren't going to be around after October. But I know personally, my expectation, while I'm going to be sitting on the sidelines, is that this happens as a whole of Niagara process, not just predetermining that it's going to continue with the status quo as it has been with respect to all services or some of the services being delivered by the region. We have a responsibility. We have a fiduciary responsibility to look at all the options before us. No, they might not be traditional. No, they may not have happened since 1970, 71. But it's our responsibility in 2026 to look at all those options. To then therefore ensure that the services, where they best be delivered, is to the benefit of the ratepayers, the water, wastewater ratepayers from the operational and the fixed capital rate side, as well as taxpayers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have Mayor Easton next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the CAO for bringing this report forward and for Councillor Badaway's comments. On several occasions, it has been noted the importance of the 12 municipalities being part of this process. We have a fracturing of the council where there are 8 who are meeting and there are 4 who are not meeting. When Lincoln is invited to those meetings, we will happily attend. Our CAO has been very active with the CAO group working on this and a number of other projects. And however, this office is waiting for our invitation to attend. I'm very pleased that we are looking at alternate models. This is an extremely enlightening and important process for the future. And I look forward to being part of it, as will the next mayor of Lincoln. Thank you very much.
Councillor Encina.
Thank you, Chair. And through you, I'm going to ask that this matter be deferred until the completion of the core review that we've been asking for. I'll make that motion.
You have a seconder for that? Councillor Foster, you would second that? Do we want to have any discussion, or we just want to call on the vote that it be deferred till after the review?
No discussion or debate on the referral motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that clarification. So please vote electronically. It's carried. Well, sorry, was that a tie? Yeah, it was carried, yeah. Okay, sorry about that, I was just double checking. Okay.
I couldn't press my button, Chair, sorry. So I didn't get a chance to vote. It's Councillor Villela.
Were you in favor or were you opposed?
I'm opposed, sir.
Still carried. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we'll go back to, can we go back for comment on the, no, we're done? Okay. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So- Okay, so on consent items, we'll move on to 5.2. PW 19-2026, Niagara Region Growth Report, 2025 year-end summary and 10-year growth. Oh, you want, we can take it as a block, or, okay. So we have items 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5. Mover, seconder to take it as a block. Tim, and, okay. Okay, so before, I guess, well, I won't ask anybody to vote yet, but so we have a mover, Councillor Rigby and Councillor Foster, or Councillor Encina. So then before we vote on any of the consent items, are there any questions respecting the confidential Appendix 1 to the memorandum of PWC-C 1026? If so, I would recommend dealing with the memorandum after the closed session. Do any members wish to discuss the confidential appendix in the closed session? Oh, Councillor Encina? So you'd like to do that? Yep. Okay, then we're going to take the rest as a block, which is 5.2 to 5.4. We have a mover, seconder. Please vote electronically. Right, it was 19, 9, and 2. Okay. Carried. Councillor Olson, did you, sorry, I saw you pop up there at the last minute.
Yes, Chair, I'd like to have a question on 5.2.
Okay, well, that's allowed, yep. So, fire away.
I'd like to ask a question of staff with respect to the housing supply. I noticed that when I read this, I was expecting when it said under the title of housing supply, I would be seeing some kind of a continuity schedule that would show how many houses we had at the start, how many we built, and how many are still remaining, simply because I think there's some misleading data that arises because I don't think we have accurate data on what the stock looks like, because there are a number of people who are leaving their houses, downsizing, et cetera. And I don't think we have an accurate count of or prediction of what that looks like, what that might look like. And I think it leads to overstating the need for new construction to replace the stock that we need. So I'm just wondering about that, whether that's something that can be added to our reporting.
Okay.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. As you mentioned, it is really hard for us to estimate, the amount of population that will be downsizing from their existing homes to smaller rental units or condo units, and how that frees up the market. However, it's something we can take back and see in future forward reports if there's some sort of estimate that we could kind of allow to that in relation to that population cohort. Maybe there's some sort of analysis we can include in reports going forward.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think there must be some kind of a regression or something that you can create that makes a prediction. And if we have the understanding as well that these are estimates and they're not intended to be perfect, I think there's something that could be done in that relation to that. But I'm sure there's a regression that it ties into something that would predict the housing stock at every year going forward. And as I said, long term, I'm looking for something longer term than a year or 5 years. Where we're going to look like in 2050 would be useful. So if something like that could be done, it'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Director Morale, you want to respond to that, or you're just, that you're good?
Through the chair, we'll take that feedback and see if there's some sort of analysis that we can explore on reports going forward.
Okay, thank you for that. So we're just going to move to other business before we go into the closed session. So before we proceed with other business, I'd like to first ask Director Lambert to provide information respecting the Fort Erie elevated water storage tank.
Through the chair, thank you for the opportunity to highlight some water wastewater projects that had some major milestones last week. This includes the Fort Erie elevated tower, as well as some significant advancement in the Project Eagle servicing. So the Fort Erie elevated tank, it was raised on July 7th, can be easily seen from the QEW, especially at the Gilmore Road interchange. The construction cost of this tank was about $20 million by Landmark Structures. It is a 9 megaliter, so million liter storage tank. It is the largest in the Niagara region and in Canada that has ever been raised by Landmark to date. We are able to identify this facility through a master servicing plan, completed the EAA, and co-located this actually at a location that the region already owned with the waste management landfill property, so we didn't have to purchase property. This new tank weighs about 9,000 tons. It's roughly the height of a 15 to 18 story building. There's a lot of work yet left to do for welding and capping and sealing, installation of a new water main. So this new tank is expected to be in operation by July of 2027, and it will be able to decommission 2 existing assets that are near the end of their useful life, being the Central Avenue elevated tank and the Stevensville reservoir. One thing, you've probably seen this in the news, hopefully, there was a lot of media attention in regards to this, and it was a great opportunity for our communications team to proactively highlight the great work that we're doing. And now we'll move on to the Project Eagle. This is the east side employment land servicing for water and wastewater. It's the Welland Canal crossing in Port Colborne. On July 9th, Rankin Construction with their subcontractor and tunneling expert Warden Burke successfully completed the first micro-tunneling crossing of approximately 310 meters under the Welland Canal. This started around 17 meters below ground surface, goes at about a 10% slope underneath, and just came through at the perfect location, just like it was planned. This project involves the installation of trunk water mains, multiple force mains beneath the Welland Canal in a tunnel, and this will support the Saikase Project Eagle development, the east side employment lands, and future residential development in Port Colborne. This project is on budget and on track, and we are meeting the timelines that we have committed to Asai Kasei. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight this work.
Okay, thank you, Director Lambert, for those updates. Now I'll ask Commissioner DeAngelis to provide information respecting the GO station.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to highlight the breaking ground of the long-awaited Grimsby GO station as well on July 7th last week. It was a busy week in Public Works. We're very excited that our partners, provincial partners, Metrolinx, have broken ground. This is a great collaboration between the region of Niagara, the town of Grimsby, and Metrolinx to make this happen. I just wanted to thank our Director of Transportation Services, Director Tassoni, and his team for expediting the works to ensure that there was access to the site for Metrolinx to start this work, and also for expediting the work on the design for the extension of Livingston Avenue, as well as the upgrades to Casablanca Boulevard. Again, really tight timelines, but the team rose to the occasion and got the work done. So great collaboration on all parties. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner, for that update, and I'll go and ask if any committee members have other business this morning. Councillor Morocco.
Chair, I just wanted to shout out to Frank Tisoni, Public Works, regarding this reducing the speed limit on Lions Creek Road in Chippewa. I just want to say thank you very much. We've had a number of accidents in the last while there. It's been quite a contentious spot in Niagara with the development and growth in a number of vehicles. But anyway, I just want to say thank you very much. We've reduced it from 80 to 60. I see the signs posted there. So again, thank you. Let's hope that that helps keep our community a little safer. I know it's not going to stop bad drivers, but it's a start. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, last call. If any other business from any committee members? None? Okay. So now I'd to move into closed session. So, oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, before I ask for a mover and seconder to go into closed session, I'd like to remind you of your obligations respecting closed session. Those who are participating electronically in the closed session must ensure that no other person is in the location from which they are taking part in the meeting, or make appropriate arrangements so that other persons cannot see or hear of the confidential deliberations taking place. If this is not possible, you must withdraw from the meeting until it has reconvened in open session. Can I have a mover and seconder to go into closed session? How about Councillor Olson, Councillor Rigby? Okay, please vote electronically. Oh, and so this is why we're going in closed session. Yeah.
Chair, sorry, I just wanted to speak to going into closed session.
About, we're just voting to go into closed session. Not sure. It was required.
But I can speak to.
Not really. No. Is it a question? Like what is the nature?
So I'm not able to go into closed session in the way that you've just described, but I just wanted to be sure that you have enough for quorum.
Yes, we do. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Calling the question. Carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll take a moment to clear the room. Sorry, I lost my. Okay, thumbs up. So PWC-C 10/2026, short-term disposal capacity. Is there mover and seconder for item 5.4? Moved by Councillor Olson. How about Councillor Foster? So now I'll say, I guess there's no discussion. Are there any discussion? It's a closed session. Okay, so I will call the question. Please vote electronically. That's carried. Thank you, everybody. So our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, August the 11th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. in the council chambers of the regional headquarters. Have a good rest of the morning, everybody. Meeting adjourned.